which I still take it to now wherever I go, which I took to Burnley with me, which I felt like, asking questions the best way to improve yourself and knowing exactly what you're doing wrong and what you need to improve on. And also even if you're doing something right, there's nothing wrong with asking questions in order to take your game maybe to that bit that next step.
Edo, welcome to a very special edition of the No Choftes podcast on the OLB. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, tell your nunna, because that's very, very important. She's a very important part of your life. Don't forget to tell her. But this edition is a special one, especially for me, because this gentleman, I've only known a week, but his story going through the ranks at Arsenal, at Burnley is absolutely incredible. The experiences that he's got already at 19 years old is something that a lot of youngsters who are already involved in the game, perhaps at a younger level, can listen to and understand how difficult it is to be playing at elite level. It ain't easy, because there are a lot of kids out there that think that, I want to be a footballer when I grow up. Great, do that. It's great to dream, but you need to work. And this guy, Ismail Diallo, former Arsenal academy player, former Burnley, welcome to the No Choftes podcast, my friend. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Good to be here, man.
Good to have you on, brother. Good to have you on, man. We've spoken on the phone a couple of times, but this is the first time we're doing something face-to-face, not in a room that we were in the other day. And I like the background. What's that? Is that your wallpaper? Is that a wall? What is that?
Just the wallpaper.
Nice, man.
Something a bit different.
Yeah, I see what your academy money's been doing, like redecorating your bedroom. Yeah, I see that. All right.
You got to make it homey. You know what I mean? You got to make it home wherever you go. It's got to feel at home.
That's it, brother. That's it. Well, look, thank you for coming on the show. And
no problem.
Yeah. So let me get it straight, because I'm just trying to remember our conversation from Sunday. You're from Brighton, but are you originally from? Were you born in Brighton?
I'm originally from Brighton. I was born in Guinea, West Africa.
Guinea. Okay, so tell me about that. What was that like growing up?
There's not too many memories from that, because when I was born there, but I moved to England quite early on, so there's not too much memories from there, because I spent most of my time. I basically grew up in the UK and England here, and I spent most of my time growing up in Brighton. So for me, this is where I pretty much call home. But obviously, I got the roots of being from Guinea, and I still speak the native languages, and I still got a lot of family there. But
how many languages? You say languages? That's plural. How many?
Language, yeah. I only speak one. Obviously, my family speaks a few others within Guinea, so they speak a few of those. Obviously, then I learned English. So in Guinea, they speak Fula, but obviously they got other languages. So Fula is my native language. Then obviously I learned English. Obviously, that's what I speak on an everyday basis now, other than when I'm at home with my family.
Oh, okay. So you moved to Brighton. That's a bit of a random place to go from Africa to Brighton. I do expect like London, Manchester, Birmingham. Brighton?
My dad was already so when I was born in Guinea, my dad was already living in the UK. We moved there, and my dad was already based in Brighton, and he always liked Brighton. Okay. So, and then and then obviously I'm happy they chose Brighton, because obviously something different to everything else. We've got the beach here, so around this time of year, summer now is beautiful to live here. You got the sea, which is literally like 2-minute walk. I can see it from my house. So it's beautiful to have right now in summer when you got long walks to do, stuff like that. The sun's out, that kind of thing. So it's a perfect destination, I think.
Bro, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of the viewers are based in Cyprus of this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah? And the beach to them, it's like you come out your house and there's a beach there. So when they hear that England has beaches, they'll be like, what's going on? I thought it always just rained all the time in England. But we got beaches.
It's true, you do.
We got beaches.
So natural as well.
That's it. So how did you get involved in the game? Because you don't just end up at Arsenal just by being at Brighton Pier. Right?
So my story is quite typical for anyone who started football. So obviously I played Sunday League. I played for my local school team. I was doing well in that. I just enjoy playing with my mates and everything. So I played for my Sunday League teams around here, playing with friends, enjoying football. And then through that, Brighton came in for me, because obviously I'm based in Brighton. So I was playing, doing well, scoring a lot of goals. Back then I used to be a striker, and I used to score a lot of goals. And obviously that generated a lot of noise from the local area. Everyone started to know who I am from school, playing against other schools. My school was a very strong team as well. So we dominated a lot. So through that, clubs and everyone got involved, started contacting me. And, Brighton wanted me to come in to train with them. And obviously I went through all the Brighton. This is before Brighton became back then Brighton wasn't as big as they are now. because the Brighton was a bit of a smaller team back then. So I went through. They didn't have an academy then. They had like a centre of excellence, where like a development centre phases they had. So I literally went through all of those, trained with all of those during the week while I had school. Then on weekend I just played for my Sunday league club, and then that happened until they set up like a centre of excellence, which what they had back then, which is now is the academy. They have because back then they didn't have the academy status. They were just a centre because they're quite small back then.
Yeah.
So there's phases of like development. So I was there, and then I went through a stage until I get into the academy when they started that, which I spent just over a year there. My brother was there with me as well because he was a few years older, so he was playing for Brighton together. And then through there, played for Brighton for a year. For me back then, I didn't know anything about. I just thought like about moving club. I didn't know anything, so I just thought like just play for Brighton until you get the first team. And then from there,
you were still like, around. But you were like relatively. I mean, you're still young now. You're 19 now. But before that,
young, but like
10, 11.
Yeah, probably not even that. Probably about 8, 9. Or probably be like 8, 9 years old. So even that, so just enjoying life. Yeah. So for me, like it was all about having fun back then. Because obviously, because my Sunday team was very like dominant. We were very strong. So part of that, and there were a lot of our players got called into this centre of excellence, all this training with the Brighton. So because of that, I decided to go with them because obviously it just kept the friendship together. So we went all the way together there, and then through that, some of them signed for Brighton, and we all almost like took that Sunday league team together to the Brighton. So obviously that's what kind of the vibe we had there, which is like it's almost like it's something good to have when you're growing up playing with your friends, and then you take that kind of relationship to a bit more maybe. Back then wasn't serious, but a bit more of a professional level, and then sort of being comfortable around that kind of group. So yeah, that's what happened there. I spent a year there at Brighton, just over a year, and then I was doing well there, still scoring goals, making a lot of noise there. Then a lot more other teams started showing interest. My brother was there as well at Arsenal together. Not Arsenal, this time was at Brighton. Then he ended up signing for Arsenal. They came in for him. But then around this time, they had because I was quite young, very young at that time. They had the FA had like these rules where if you're this certain age, you can't travel a certain distance from where you're based. So it just reduced the traveling distance from for a young player to go, which is Brighton.
It was the catch-on, wasn't it? So effectively, Brighton were the only big club in the city. It's not like London where you've got 8 or 9 big clubs. You were effectively you're only stuck in Brighton, so you had to move to get to Arsenal.
Yeah, so exactly, yeah. So Arsenal was interested. My brother left Brighton. I went and signed for Arsenal, and then I was told at Brighton. Then some other teams started showing interest, and Chelsea was one of the other teams because Chelsea is a lot closer to Arsenal. Chelsea's Cobham is not too far from here, and obviously, like when they heard about me, and obviously they heard about Arsenal still interested, but the attachment area thing was kind of a bit far, so I wasn't able to sign for Arsenal until the following year, even though they were interested. And then obviously Chelsea came in showing interest, so they wanted to sign me with that. Then so even during this time I was still going to school, and then I'll go to school to lunchtime, then I leave school at lunchtime and I'll travel up to London with my brother, and then obviously there's other people around from Brighton who was playing for Arsenal at the time, who I'm quite close to, the player called Charlie Gilmore, who was like him and his family was kind of a big influence on mine as well, because we grew up he's a couple of years older than me, but I trained with him, I played with him, and his dad was like a important figure in kind of my footballing life. So he helped me with that thing. His dad was an Arsenal scout, so when we were doing well, he was getting a lot of attention from that, and he kind of pushed us toward that kind of direction through the Arsenal. So we go to school until lunchtime. We will leave, and then we go get changed, and then we get in the car and we travel over this London, East London, where the training ground is, Hale End, in Walthamstow. And then we train, and when we finish training, probably be like 8, 9 o'clock, and then we drive all the way back. We get home for maybe midnight or just after midnight, and then you still lived in Brighton and played for Arsenal. So how did you get around the catchment rule then? So this is early phases. So this early phases, I was doing that before. I was training because I wasn't officially signed at the time, so I was just training.
So you could train, even though I understood. But so it's only when you signed with them you had to move.
Right, so obviously that, and then so I was training with them, doing that trip up and down. So I'll be like, leaving at lunchtime, go up there for training. Training would normally be like at 4 or 5, and then we probably finish maybe like 7, 8, and then we travel back with traffic sometimes. We get back at midnight 1, then we go school in the morning.
That's so crazy. But how did you get your education sorted? Because you're what, 12, 13, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So you're 12 years old, 13.
Yeah.
Going to Arsenal from Brighton. You're leaving at midday. What about your studies? Like, how that must have affected it, surely.
Studies wise, I just took it as the school was aware of everything. Obviously, they know my football, so they kind of did everything to help out. So I just took all the stuff. So before I left the lessons, I spoke to the teachers like a week before, let them know what I've been missing out or what lessons. So, and I come into like break time and like, speak to them before I leave. Because we have like break time before lunchtime. So I come and speak to them, say like, they tell me this is the lesson you'll be missing out on. So this is the stuff work I need to do. Obviously, but this was like primary school, so there wasn't too much. It wasn't as crazy, maybe secondary school as it was. So I could have got away with a few more stuff. But at the same time, I took the work with me in the car, and I would do like some of the work I missed out then, and I'll hand it in the next day, stuff like that. So that's what I did to almost stay on top of the work I did from primary school.
Right. Okay. So, you said that Chelsea were interested in you.
Yeah.
How was that like? Because obviously you had a selection, you had a choice, either Arsenal or Chelsea.
Yeah.
Now, why did you choose Arsenal over Chelsea? Because the reason why I asked this is because obviously I don't know whether Arsenal was a club that you felt that could offer you more, or maybe because you saw there was a lot of foreign players at Chelsea in the first team, you thought maybe they weren't too focused on their youth academy. That being said, Chelsea have had a thriving youth academy for many years. So why Arsenal?
Definitely. Yeah, for me back then, I wasn't really thinking that far ahead because obviously I was still really young. So I never even thought about first team level or anything like that. I just thought about going and playing, enjoying and having fun with my friends, or like, just playing and enjoying it. So, and then the reason why I ended up going to Arsenal, it was the fact that my brother was already there. And obviously my family wanted to keep us together because they didn't like, me and my brother were really close and my family were really close. So if for them, it made more sense that we both been going to the same club and being around each other to look after each other was the best decision. Personally, for me, I wanted to go Chelsea, but I don't regret going to Arsenal. So, but I enjoyed being at Arsenal because I was around my brother the whole time. Me and him were really close. So when we went up there, we traveled up together, and along with like a player I told you about, Charlie Gilmore, who's from Brighton as well. So we all just went together. So it was almost like a lot more easier I had someone there who I already know, and having my brother there made it a lot more easier. And then having been able to like keep the family together, it was like that's one of the main reasons. Wasn't maybe anything else.
So Charlie Gilmore, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he go on loan to Norwich?
No, yeah, he was at Arsenal for many years. I can't remember how many years, but he was there forever. He was part of that really successful Arsenal group with played with Joe Willock, Chris Willock.
Yeah.
Did that kind of group. So he was at Arsenal for many years, then ended up leaving to go into Norwich.
He went to Norwich,
he went on loan to Holland, where he played a lot of games there.
Right?
Yeah.
He's not related to Billy Gilmore, is he?
No, he's not related to Billy
Gilmore. Because that's what I'm saying, because Billy Gilmore was at Chelsea and he's on loan at Norwich and he went on loan in Holland. I'm thinking, because I know your mate he's at St. Johnstone now, isn't he?
Yeah, St. Johnstone now, where he's doing really well, playing there every. So they're not related.
Okay, that's just All right, so you get the offer to join Arsenal.
Yeah.
Right. Who was it? Was it Kwame Ampadu that was the coach at the time?
No, Kwame was. I met Kwame later on down the line. But he was an under 18 coach for them years. But I met him when I got close to the under 18s, obviously with under 15s and 16s. But then I can't remember who the coach is because we we were so young. Sometimes we have different coaches. We had to couple. Sometimes have different teams. So that's what it was. So sometimes we didn't have a proper coach until maybe I think under 10s, 11s or like that. But I don't really. It was a long time ago. I don't remember what coaches. I tend to remember the coaches where proper important years where under 15s, 14s, and 16s because they're the big decision where you have been around with the coaches, understanding stuff like that. But so around that time, the person who actually kind of looks after me the most was a man called Roy Massey. I'm not sure if you know them, but he was he basically did everything for the club at the time. He was head of basically everything. He had every title. And at the same time, when Arsenal did decide to sign me and they moved me up to London to live with the host family, he organised everything. And then when I was up there, he was almost like a father figure to me at the time because I was living away from my parents. So anything I really needed, he was there, getting picked up from the station when I travelled up, taking me to the training ground, sometimes taking me from the house to school. after training back to the Diggs family I was staying with, he did everything. So obviously he was another big factor in my obviously early years, which obviously I still keep contact with him now. Yeah, so yeah.
That's good, man. But tell me something. I know you're a very, very religious guy.
Yeah.
And you practice Islam. So have you been practicing it for many years since you were a kid, or is this more like a gradual thing as you've been getting older? Because the reason I ask is because when you're young, I know you're still young now, Christ, you're 19 years old, I'm talking to you like you're in your 30s, but you know, when you're a teenager and you're going through that you know, those years where your testosterone's getting high and you're growing as a person, it's difficult to, you know, to do the religious rituals like your fasting and all that kind of stuff. So you as a youngster going all the way up to Arsenal and being placed with a family which I'm just assuming aren't the same religion as you, was it difficult to kind of, you know, practice your religion?
For me, it wasn't really difficult because I grew up. So luckily for me, I've always been a Muslim for me. So obviously I grew up around a Muslim family. My whole family, my family's really religious. I would like to say that. I would like to think that as well. So I've been practicing it since young. So it was almost like kind of almost normal to me what I did. So wherever I went, I took it with me. Wherever I was doing, I always like, you know, put it first. So I wish it kind of helped me with my football situation and everything. And then what really helped as well was that Arsenal and the host family as well, they were really understanding of my needs, and they were really open to everything. So whatever I needed, they were literally provided that and any space. So for me, it was never a problem at all. And the family I stayed in London, they like, you know, they understood everything. They basically treated me like their own. And even to this day now, like I'm still in contact with them. I still like to see them whenever I can and all that kind of stuff. So we've got a good relationship with them. I can pick up the phone and call them whenever, and they would answer like same as them. Just they can call me whenever.
That's brilliant.
So that kind of relationship I have with them.
That's great to hear, because you know you do hear about some really tragic stories, and I remember talking to Steve Walters many years ago about his experiences being abused by his coach. Now I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen as often as what it used to. So you going up from Brighton without your family, living with a family that you don't know. Obviously, the club have done their due diligence and seen that they're a good family that you still keep in contact with them, which is absolutely brilliant. So that's great to hear. But you joined Arsenal. You spent 6 years there. Six very enjoyable years. A
lot longer than that. I was there for 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, a lot longer.
Wow, I thought it was 6 for some reason. Okay, 8 years at Arsenal. Wow. Okay, so you've gone to the club and you've seen so much. What can you tell me about the facilities? And the reason why I ask this is because we hear so much about Cobham. We hear so much about how Arsenal's training ground and everything around there is top notch. You know, we hear about Wenger back in the day when he found all these younger players and, you know, found them from absolutely nowhere. And even the youngsters that brought, like Fabregas, they found him from the Barcelona academy, but they brought him in and he's developed, etc. So what can you tell me about the facilities at the training ground?
When I first went to Arsenal, the facility wasn't really anything. They were kind of basic. But then kind of obviously the way Arsenal was kind of a bit more old school. We had Liam Brady as the head of academy. Obviously, he's a massive figure at the club. And then, so he's a bit more kind of old school. And then everything, from the building, everything was old school, but the pitch was like top class. We had a lot of pitches there, a lot of like age group was training there. And then, but obviously for me back then, I wasn't really too fussed about it because it's just the fact you're playing for Arsenal. You didn't really worry about anything. But compared to everything else I've been to, this facility was amazing. You know, so like, back then that was it. And then as the years went on, Arsenal did invest a bit more money into the academy, which really shows now, as Haaland is like, I think one of the best. And the pitches, they reduced the number of pitches with the more quality pitches. And obviously we have a more before football, there wasn't really much more emphasis on the gym part of football. So it was basically train and then go home. What's now is more on the gym emphasis. So they built a whole new gym, everything like that. Changing room has got better. Lot more change room, everything. We had the games room in there. We had like a way we watch the video, replay analysis, everything like that, which we didn't really have before. So obviously that progressed over the years because there's a lot of changes within the Arsenal technical staff as well. So that was so everything changed I was lucky enough to see the progression of it from for what it was originally is and to what it is now. So
When do you
yeah,
think it
I think
changed? Do you know roughly when it changed? Like, did anyone come in and you thought, this is why it's all changing because this person's in?
I'm not sure 100% why it changed, but we had that phase where Liam Brady was no longer the academy manager, and I
This
think
is
he
like
stepped
2014.
down.
I think it's 2014.
Might have been, and then we had like the era where we had Andries Jonker. He was part of the Dutch national team, where he was assistant manager to Dutch national team, and then he brought his team in, and they were all based from Holland, and obviously that experience from national team in Holland and from working with Barcelona. So they came in with a different kind of style. Similar, obviously, the Arsenal philosophy still remained the same, but of different way of teaching it. And then I think with that came along with what the few more demand they wanted to do. Honestly, like we had a few more restrictions of it because we didn't have the facilities for it, which might have been because there were a big emphasis on detail on everything. So, and then back then we didn't have like a replay analysis room to watch the videos and stuff like that. So, and obviously that might hamper the development they were thinking about. So now I think they came in and they wanted that kind of emphasis for us to rewatch our games, show the little details, watch the mistakes, learn from them, and even watch the good part and do more of it. So I think that might have been the reason. I don't think it might not be the 100% reason, but it might have been because obviously I felt that the Dutch takeover, they were like, detail was really, really important on everything, whether it's communication on the pitch, communicating with the teammates, everything like that, whether how you play a pass, the supporting runs you make, everything like that was really important. So having to watch that back allows you to take the details in, allows you to watch back and maybe you might look at a pass you did and you think, oh, maybe that was the wrong decision. Maybe someone else was better, or maybe that was the right decision, but I should have maybe put more weight on it, stuff like that. So I think that might have been the reason why the facility had to improve in order to take the academy to the next level of development, I feel.
Well, that's brilliant because not many people know about what goes on at academies unless listen. You can watch Twitter and you can go on YouTube and see the next starlet and they'll show you highlights of games and whatnot, but you don't know what happens on the training pitch every day. We hear about drones being used these days. We hear about heart monitors and GPS and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you were basically at Arsenal, who, let's be 100% honest, they were one of the founding clubs who used technology. I remember Wenger coming in changing the diet, so he's using technology. So in terms of the clubs in the Premier League, Arsenal were one of the first to do that. So you were there to see that evolution. Now, obviously, you being young at the time, you weren't too foreign to technology anyway. So I don't think it was a big deal for you guys. But from a tactical and a developmental side, were you and your teammates encouraged to perhaps ask questions? Because you mentioned the Dutch fella from, who worked for the national team. I've spoken to people who've played at Ajax, and they told me that at youth level, they were encouraged to ask their coaches questions like, why was I playing there? Why have you asked me to drop deep? Why have you asked me to challenge? But not in a disrespectful way. Were you given the opportunity to do that as well?
Arsenal, that was one of the biggest factors, I think. I think that's one of the biggest things that makes Arsenal one of the best academies for producing players, was that kind of reason. They allow you to ask questions. They want you to ask questions. That's what they always say. Like, there's no wrong answer. If you think there's always like room to ask questions, room for errors, anything like that. So if you're unsure about anything, ask all the time. So I think they really, really emphasize on that. Whether you're on the pitch, so you want to ask a question quickly, or whether it be, after the game or something you don't understand. It's always when you ask, that's the only way you can improve. You can only way to learn. So I think I felt I took that kind of on board a lot, which I still take it to now wherever I go, which I took to Burnley with me, which I felt asking questions the best way to improve yourself and knowing exactly what you're doing wrong and what you need to improve on. And also, even if you're doing something right, there's nothing wrong with asking questions in order to take your game maybe to that bit, that next step. Because as footballers, there's always the next step. Doesn't matter how good you get or how doesn't matter how good you get or how much you improve. There's always another level you need to strive to get better. And that's what the thing they always had at Arsenal. And with that, always started with asking questions.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Now, you're going to laugh at this one. You've got a lot of former teammates who've now broken through to the first team.
Yeah.
But can you think of any stories about these players, perhaps when you were growing up with them, and perhaps little embarrassing anecdotes that they might not forgive you for?
There will be quite a few, but obviously I don't wanna bring them out. Some of them are a bit too, bit too private, and that's why.
Well, which players did you play with at that level then?
I've played with a lot of players. Luckily for me, I've been able to play with a lot of world-class players at the academy. So one of them with obviously was a mate, Laos, is spearheading Arsenal in the right direction now, which is Bukayo Saka, who's the main player there, who I played with. He was my age group at Arsenal, so we played together all the way through the academy system. And then a lot of the teammates who I came up with at Arsenal, some of them are all now scattered around the league. So obviously they moved on from Arsenal and they're doing well for themselves. The likes of Armstrong Flex. Obviously he's at West Ham now. He went from Arsenal to Celtic and now's at West Ham doing really, really well. And then we had a player called Josh Martin. He went from Arsenal to Norwich. He won promotion with Norwich last season. Now he's a loan to MK Dons. We had obviously other players still in the football system. We had like Matty Dennis, he's at Norwich. He's a very, very technical player. Very, very technical. You need to look out for him in the few years to come. Stan Flaherty, he's doing really well at Newcastle. Pretty much literally the whole team. I can just sit here and name a lot of names and literally they're all doing really well. Those are just a name within my age group. And obviously then I was lucky enough to play up age group as well, been involved with old age group. So I played with like the Xavier Michis. He's at Hamburg now, who's a learn at Bolton. Tyrese John-Jones, he's still at Arsenal now. He's a learn at Blackpool. Vontae Daly-Campbell, who's at Leicester now, breaking in, doing really well. I was lucky enough to play with Reece Nelson when I played a couple of years above with my brother. Reece Nelson's my brother's age group. So obviously sometimes my brother's 2 years older than me. And sometimes I was doing so well, they pushed me up for 2 years up. I'll be on the bench with them. So I've been lucky enough to play alongside with him. I played fullback behind him, which is like a different learning curve from when you play up. Because sometimes when you do play up, the only way you can get into a team, you can't get into your position. You have to get in another position where they think, you might develop a bit more. So that position was for me, they put me as a fullback. I was playing right back behind Reece Nelson. At the same time, that same age group was with Emile Smith-Rowe. Obviously, he's at Arsenal now. And then who was around the change room as well, like who's a year older than them was Joe Willock as well, who I didn't play games with, but obviously he was around the facilities, training ground, all them kind of players. And then, Justo Silva, he's at Brentford, one of the league players there. So I can just, like I said, I can just sit here and list so many names.
There you go. Conveyor belt of talent, Conveyor belt of talent. Yeah, well, look, you mentioned Saka, the first name that you mentioned there. And you saw what happened in the European Championship final. Yeah. Many people were saying he really shouldn't have been taking a penalty because of his age, because of his inexperience. But on the flip side, he showed a great amount of bravery to step up and take it. And to be fair on the lad, the media didn't destroy him. They did it with Beckham, but they didn't destroy the lad. And I think that's great. And that just shows how we're slowly moving forwards, in terms of, treating players like human beings. But when he missed that penalty, what was going on in your head?
For me, I think it might be typical. For me, even before he had to, when I saw him lining up, probably the same thought for every black person watching that game. I just felt like, if you don't score, what happened exactly what I expected was going to happen, if you scored, everyone went crazy. I would have been probably screaming, singing, like everybody else. But I knew if you missed, anything happened other than scoring, that same result would happen. So that kind of really almost like, I wasn't prepared for it, but I was expecting it, So that's what I kind of felt. So him stepping up showed I was a bit like everybody else. I'm saying, Bukayo, I knew he would step up already because that's the character he has and that's the type of player he is. He never shies away from the big moments. And he's always been like that since the academy. He's always been he wanted to be that person who makes the decision, change the game. And then for him stepping up doesn't surprise me because he's always been like that. But obviously the outcome of it from the racist point of view, I can already anticipate it long before he even took the penalty.
Yeah, and it's sad. It's very sad because, I remember tweeting the moment he missed it. And I was like, you watch Sancho, Rashford and Saka, they're going to get it. They're going to get it. It's not going to be the other players. It's not going to be the players that couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. over 120 minutes. I know Shaw did, obviously, but the chances that England had, they weren't going to go for him. They were going to go for the 3 black kids that missed penalties. And that's just the state of where we are at the moment. And we saw last night with Hungarian fans make monkey chants at Raheem Sterling. And I'll tell you what, the England players really rallied together. And that was great to see. Absolutely,
I really loved that, because obviously a few weeks back we had the scenes that was in Marseille. We had the scenes at Marseille where obviously the fans getting involved and all that kind of stuff. Where I was so the unity between the England squad, which you can see now building up from the last couple of international tournaments. It's kind of building up, and the players are mentally stronger, which has been led by Sterling. Obviously he could have reacted the way he's over there, which is we could have reacted in any way. He could have did what happened in Marseille, where he flicked out, threw it back in them, and that would have caused even more chaos. But he decided to just focus on his game, and then do what he does best by ignoring them, and proving a statement in other ways rather than fighting them, but by showing support. And then the way the whole team got around him, which is even more better, and then the way the mockery of, obviously they showed that by mocking them, the racism, which that shows a perfect example with the 4-0 win. So I think that was just a perfect way to react for that with that kind of bad situation.
100%, mate. All right, one more question on Arsenal. Were there any legends around the club at the time? Because I know various clubs have got big profile players in and around the club, be it just as an ambassador or someone on the training pitch. Was there someone there, or were there people there that you looked up to and were able to give you advice? Because that's important as a youngster, isn't it?
Yeah. When I was at the academy, I had the opportunity to have. We had sometimes had a lot of first team players that come down. Sometimes takes a couple of sessions during the weeks. So we had Jack Wilshere coming down, which obviously at that period he was I think he's still a world class player. But then the way I'm looking at him, because as a midfielder myself, and then looking at him and then what he did against Barcelona, all the media that we still talks about now, and I think he's still a world-class player. So having him coach us was for me, it was kind of a really big thing. And then from that as well, we had Thierry coming down, and he was coaching our team for a couple of weeks. And then that was that's an even bigger thing, because growing up, and then you see those players on TV, and you see what type of legend he is at that club, and then and having him just around, and he was the type of player that would get himself involved in the sessions, and he would also mess around trying to and you can still had the quality.
Did you try and nutmeg him though? Did you try and nutmeg him?
No, I didn't try. You couldn't even get close to him. When he has the ball, you can't even get close to him. So he was making other players, and I just made sure I stayed away. I didn't want to be that victim, so I just thought,
you'll be a victim.
And then we also, back then we also had Mikel Arteta at the academy before, obviously, he moved over to Man City. So we had him when I think he might have been doing his courses, but we had him helping us out in the training ground, which is another big thing. Obviously, he was a midfielder as well. So for me to learn little things like that, or little details from them, was kind of a big thing to even just add to my game at that stage, and even sometimes take on now.
Could you see him becoming Arsenal manager? In all fairness, I know he's getting a lot of stick, and obviously it's a results business. But what I've been saying to my friends, Arsenal fans, that you need to be a bit more patient, because to be fair on the guy, while he spent a lot of money this summer, most of his players are injured. Most of his players. So how can he build anything? Most of them on the, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's difficult. It's difficult. Even what Arsenal going through right now is difficult, but obviously it needs a lot of patience. But obviously a lot of people don't have that patience. And then in the positive stuff, I like to look at it is even though obviously they're not doing where they're not where they're expecting to be. But the way I look at it right now is that I'm happy for them, because a lot of my friends are getting opportunity, where sometimes if a team is doing so well, those players are not looked at. They just brushed aside, send them on loan and forgotten about. But right now, those players who I played with, they're the players that are leading the team to hopefully to the new direction, and they are the heart of it right now. So that's why for me, the positive side is they're investing more into the academy. They always did that obviously over the years, but now there's a bit more emphasis on it.
I'm glad you said this, because I hope people who are watching realize that, as you just said, Arteta was in and around the academy when you were there, when Saka was there, when Smith Rowe, all these players that are breaking through the first team.
Yeah.
They were in the academy, so Arteta
Yeah.
obviously saw them. But what about Maitland-Niles?
Yeah,
Something's happened with
Maitland
him.
now. I didn't have opportunity to play with, be around him or play with him because he was so many. How old is he now? He was a lot older than me, so I never really got to see him through the academy phases. Because obviously we had the academy. The training ground was split into two training grounds. We had the academy Hayland, which was like from obviously the pre-academy all the way to the 16s, and then when you sign for your scholarship and professional contract, you move over to London Colney, and that's where the 23s and the first team are based, and the 18s are based. So when you go over there, there's not much there's interaction, but you don't really tend to treat them too much. Where there's more focus on like the academy here, and when you move over there, because that when you go to full-time football, that's when you go to London Colney, and that's like in every single day, training every single day. Where at the academy to on the 16s, you're in maybe 3 times a week and a game, or sometimes 4 times a week. We had something called a day release, where like just one day a week where you don't go to school, you come to the training ground, and then you do like everything there. You have at lunchtime, you do spend like an hour and a half where you have a teacher who comes in and helps with your homework and everything you're missing out. And then during the whole day, we train in the morning, do analysis, and then we do training in the evening as well. So just to get the team a bit more close together, stuff like that. So I didn't really have much the opportunity to come across Maitland-Niles during my Arsenal time.
No problem, mate. No problem. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit here because we've gone on for almost 40 minutes, man. No, blimey, crikey! Yeah. And I know you got gym in the morning, so let's do let's do this as quick as we can, right? So you've moved from Arsenal. You had trials at Milan, at Sporting, at Sampdoria, and then you ended up at Burnley. That's just random. Can you just explain the chain of events that happened there? Right.
Yeah, a lot happened that period because when they came to my last year because when I got under 15, they either give you a 2-year contract or they let you move on, so they release you. So I was given a 2-year contract for under 15 that took me to under 16s, and then during that kind of last 2 years, I wasn't getting as much game time I was getting. When I signed for Arsenal, I was playing the year above already, so I spent all my time playing with the older age groups until maybe under 15s, and then that's when like we had a new manager there who didn't really take too much liking to me, which I felt. And then because when I was playing the year above, I was captain of the year above the age group. I was captain that side, and then it came to a point with under 15s where went from captain to the year before. I mean, winning stuff. We won like a tournament called the Nike Trophy, where we played at Wembley, and we won that trophy. And then to the following year, where I'm just on the bench. I have no involvement. And then where I was told as well, like I'm the youngest player in the team, and he doesn't think like it's right for me to be captain. It should be someone else who's obviously like all the senior players there. But I felt like I'm a kind of a mature player, and the way I was, I felt like I am mature enough to be the captain. And I think that's throughout the year, that's why I was captain already for that age group. And then got down to 15 where I wasn't really getting too much game time as I wanted. And then so because I was under 14s at the time, so I was playing under 15s. So the manager of under 14s called me over, said obviously like if he wants me to play for my age group, come down and play for them, help them out in cup games. So that's how it started. So I thought, yeah, why not? Because obviously I wasn't playing there, I was on the bench. I just wanted to play. So I went, helped out my age group, get in just tournament games, like cup games. So I played a few games, helped them out, doing well, and I kind of just really enjoyed it because this is my first time actually playing with my age group. They were there sometimes I trained with them, but I never really involved with them. So I really kind of enjoyed it. Enjoyed being around them, playing game, you're winning together, and then just the main factor. I just wanted to be playing every week, being involved every week, and then it went on to end the season. I kept playing for my age group. Then that following year, we had Freddie Ljungberg as our manager. So we moved on to the 15-16s. We had Freddie Ljungberg as our manager, who also was an Arsenal legend. And then I think that's when I developed the most with him. And obviously, like he really, really helped me take my game from that next step mentally and also psychologically, which I felt like I think that's something that you need to give him credit for, which is so many players or sometimes staff or coaches don't really do. Where he came in and he treated every player differently. He wasn't just like you're all the same players. Every player, he give them a kind of different way of coaching. Some players he needed to put his arm around them. Some players need to be a bit more direct and straightforward with them. And so my example with that was had a period where I was up in London the whole time. I haven't gone home for me. Normally I go home on the weekends. So I'll be in London for the whole week. I finish school on a Friday. We play sometime on a Saturday. After Saturday, I go home for Saturday evening. I stay Sunday and I come for early morning for straight to school. So that's what we do. And then we had a busy schedule where I've been involved in a lot of games. I've been training up with the older age group and playing the games with them. so I didn't have too much time off to go home. So then normally I come back on a Saturday and I just stay, rather than going home and come back up. I was too tired, so I thought I would just stay in the host family, the digs they call it. And he realized that I went like a period of maybe like 4, 5, 6 weeks of not getting to go home, and then that really kind of affected me, where like, because I wasn't playing much game time as well, I wasn't getting the games I wanted, and he kind of saw that it sometimes kind of where I'm always have that bubbly kind of personality. I'm energetic, always like
changing your character.
Changing the character, and he pulled me to the side. I wanted to talk to him about it, asking if everything's okay, like telling me like if I need to talk about anything, like he's there for me. If everything going out, like he said, obviously he knows the character I am, but I look a bit more down than I'm not, like which is quite obvious for him. And then he said to me like, in 1 week he came over to me. He was like, Ishmael, this weekend I'm giving you time off. I want you to take the weekend off. I want you to go home, see your family, and you haven't seen your family for a while. Go and see your family, relax, recover, and then if you need more time, let me know. But then, if not, I'll see you on Monday. So this was like, gave me Friday. When I came in for training normal, expecting to train on a Friday, but instead he said, Ish, take Friday off, take Saturday off, Sunday off, and see you on Monday. If not, you can just talk to me or whatever. So from that, me and him kind of got really close. And then through that, I think he kind of, he allowed me to like, really, really trust him. And through that, I just felt like as a player, that's the best thing you can have. Where you have the manager, like, he wants the best for you, and he cares about you more than just a footballer. Because sometimes manager only cares about you if you're doing well. What can he do with you? If you're injured, he don't care. Next on the line. So he cares about the person, like not just a footballer, just a person behind the footballer as well.
It's the man management, isn't it? It's the man management.
Which also, like, for that, it just made me like want to work even harder for him on the pitch. I basically gave everything for him. I'll run through a wall for him in training, matches, everything. And then that kind of showed him my performances for him. So like, I had a really, really good relationship with him. And he would even games, he pull me to the side after a game, and he'd be going to me say, Ishmael, like, like even little things where people don't notice, he's saying, because I've been playing midfield and our team was packed of superstars. Like even at age we call it superstar. Our team was packed with quality. Where like Bukayo would go and get the goals. Elfie Matthews, who's obviously another one, was at he's at Crystal Palace now. Literally the whole squad, superstars. So they were there. So they'll be scoring the goals, making the noise and everything like that. And he'll come to me, put his arm around me, and say like, Ish, that challenge you did there, or Ish, that just like positioning here to prevent them from attacking or just intercepting it, keeping it simple. That was all from you. They don't see it, but I want you to know that I see that in your game. So because you did that, that allowed us to attack. And then so from countering their attack, so obviously that was a really, which I kind of start taking more notice into, where because of him saying that, I ended up going watching the game over, watching them little details. And he was there when I did it, and he was told me, and he would highlight it with me and talk to me about it, like, this little detail here, like, you just moving just slightly this side, it prevents him from thinking about that pass. Then it makes him turn back, maybe into like where the pressure is, stuff like that. Or sometimes just just blocking the like the passing lane. It's so simple, but sometimes you don't think about it.
You don't realize it when you're actually
Because when you're watching the game, you won't realize it unless you know football. Just cutting off a passing lane and just keeping the game on one side is to prevent the team from switching the play and opening the pitch up. And then now then they're playing against the pressure where all your bodies are, and then that allows you to give you more chance of intercepting the ball, winning the ball back, and then attacking. So even tiny little things like that made me like realize the little minor details and how important they were, and it really made me like appreciate my role a lot more. So obviously, because I knew I wasn't gonna be like guys gonna be going and scoring all them goals like everybody else, and I just felt like I just have to do this one job for the team in order for the team like to take the next phase on.
Yeah.
So so he was a really big
brilliant. And so obviously it was a massive influence on your career. And was he a massive influence on your social media? Because you love your fashion, don't you? So was Ljungberg.
Of course. He might have rubbed off on being around there. But yeah, I wouldn't know, because obviously, like, when he first signed, I can say this one, when we found out he's a manager, obviously there's few rumors that's going around. And then obviously, back in the day when he had that modeling shoot, that picture in the picture I'm talking about.
The black and white one, yeah?
Yeah, that one there. That one's going around the change room, so everybody having to laugh at that one. I can give that one in there. So, and then the funny thing, when he walked in, everybody put their way, and then you start laughing. There's out here saying, "Oh, what's funny, boys?" Asking, and no one wanted to say anything. So, one of those ones.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But see, this is the thing. I mean, I've spoken to numerous players from different eras, and they told me that when they were in the youth academy, there was a YTS scheme back in the day, right? And they were made to clean toilets. They were made to clean the stadiums. They were made to clean this and boots, all that kind of stuff. And they tell me, well, the youngsters these days, they got it easy. Now, did you guys have any jobs at Arsenal and at Burnley? Did you have to do anything like that?
No, you have that normally when you go into scholar. So because obviously when you sign your scholarship, you go into the full-time environment. And then in that full-time environment, you're the youngest age group within that environment. So you have the 18s, 23s, and then the first team. So the 18s are broke up into like a first-year scholar, second-year scholars, and obviously then the pros. The pros are normally the 23s, first-year pros, and obviously the first team. So normally when you're first year, so your first year in that kind of environment, they give you like chores, stuff like that to do. But because when I went under 18 football, I missed out the whole under 18 football. Because that's when I did my ACL after under 16s.
Right.
So I spent around 16 months out. So I kind of skipped the under 18s the first year and second year.
Go away with it.
I kind of got away with it. So unluckily for me, mostly my brother used to tell me because he was at Stoke as a scholar and a pro there.
Oh, okay.
So he used to do the ice baths. So see, when he left Arsenal, he went to sign for Stoke as a scholar and a pro there. And then he used to do the ice bath for the first team players. So he used to say, because obviously the building the building where the first team was on one side, the 18s were like on the other side. So after training, he has to go from one side of the building, fill up the ice baths, put them take them all the way across the other side, and then put them in, and then get them ready for the players to come out and use the ice bath, and then wait for them to finish, then clear it and then after clean them up and put them back. And then he would say like, sometimes you'd be waiting there, only one player comes out to do it. Or sometimes like, no one comes out, but you have to just wait until in case that might won. Because like sometimes the player they have a different schedule, so they might come out a bit later. So you just won't know. So you have to just always be prepared to do it and make it make it easier for them to come in and do the recovery and do whatever they need to do. So for me, luckily for me, I kind of skipped past.
Got away with it. So talk to me about Burnley then. What was that in comparison to Arsenal? Because we always get the notion that Burnley are very, very old school in their ways, the facilities being poor, the style of football being dated. Can you dispel any of these rumours, or can you confirm that Burnley was like being a dinosaur park?
The rumor about this facility is not true. The facilities are amazing. They're world class, amazing. Pitches top tier, building top tier, everything top tier at Burnley. But obviously the style of play, you don't say outdated, but obviously the new generation of the way they play, you might like to call it dated, but it just depends. It's just another way of playing, isn't it? And that's another way of looking at the game, which for me obviously was like a massive contrast to what I've been doing all the last 8 years I was at Arsenal. So all I ever learned was like, get the ball, be brave on the ball. And then obviously, as Arsenal, we were taught the bravest player on the pitch is a player that comes to get the ball from the centre back whilst under pressure. Because no one wants to do that and they lose it and they go and score. But the bravest player is that player who does that. And then perfect example is Jack Wilshere. That's why they kind of, for us, when I looked at him, saw that, and he did that like that. That was his bread and butter. Just get the ball, come in there. Doesn't matter who's pressing him. He'll get the ball comfortably and just turn like with confidence. You know what I mean? So that's what I Arsenal. That's what always drilled into me. Being on the ball, confident on the ball, under pressure, get there. Don't worry about pressure. If you make a mistake, you learn from it. It's part of the game. If you do the mistake once, if you do and do it, you will get the ball now. You make the mistake, then next time you know what you did wrong. Or if you don't do it, you won't know what you're doing wrong and stuff like that. So, and then you end up coming to Burnley, where obviously the whole style of play is a lot more different. The game is a lot more direct. And obviously, the way they get, the style of play, they just get the ball quickly as fast as forward. Whereas Arsenal, obviously, the same thing, but it's few passes. Arsenal, we just tend to isolate teams in 1v1 situations. Because that's where we felt our strengths were with the wingers. So they isolate in 1v1 situation. Sometimes you might get fullback overlapping. Sometimes if not, let them do their thing, get the ball in the box, cut backs, everybody get around the box, stuff like that. Where obviously Burnley is a lot more like target man, get the ball up to the striker and you play off of him, get it wide and stand the ball up, because we've got a lot of big players. Our team was similar to the first team, that kind of build where you have a lot of big players, a lot of energy around it, ball in the air, win your battles, and just be difficult to play against. So it was difficult at first. It was really, really difficult at first. Coming in, with those running, they do a lot more running than obviously I did at Arsenal. Where Arsenal, I would have got away with 10K. If in Arsenal, if I did 10K, I did 10.5K in the game, I would have thought I put a shift in. I would have been so proud of myself. When I come to Burnley, that's the bare minimum. That's what they want to send about to be getting. That's what I said about. And as a midfielder, you're expected to get around, 11.5, 12K. So obviously that's a lot of difference in that kind of game time. Obviously, and then the other different thing was at Arsenal, we were used to being on the ball. So we control the tempo. We dictate tempo most of the time, get the ball a lot. Where Burnley, in some games, most games, I would say, we won't have the ball too much. So that strength was almost like, the balls would be in the air and like sometimes, fighting teams, making it harder them to play like they want to play. So the contrast was very difficult. And then
how frustrating was that for you? Because you're used to being on the ball at Arsenal, dropping deep, give and goes, 1-2, spraying the ball wide on the diagonal. Yeah. But with Burnley, for me, it sounds like you're constantly having to defend in numbers and hit teams on the counter.
Yeah. It was at first it was really frustrating because when I came in, I was doing what I was doing at Arsenal, and I felt like that's what got me the contract. But then when I was in the club, it's almost changed. And then when I was doing that stuff, when I came in, they were praising me for doing that stuff I was doing, linking up players, playing around players, getting the ball, from the centre backs and that kind of stuff. This was pre-season time. And then when season started, it was almost kind of different. It was kind of different I felt like they knew what I was good at, and that was my strength. And then when now they wanted me to do something else, so it was a lot more difficult trying to change something you've been doing almost your whole career, then all of a sudden change it within a couple of months, which was really difficult. But I took the time to come early in training, speak to the manager about it, and then try and adapt to that kind of situation, which was one of the things where spinning the ball in behind. And then before I would have thought why am I doing that? That's what I first thought when I went there. Why am I spinning the ball in behind for? After the time I did it, I felt I'm giving away possession. Because as a midfielder, I want to always don't be giving the ball away. Stats are really important. And then forward passes, breaking lines, pass completion, trying to keep it to high as possible, around 100%. And then over there where I felt spin the ball in behind was almost like a 50-50 ball, or sometimes the keeper might come and get it. And I just felt like I was just giving the ball away. And I didn't feel comfortable doing it. And then then after a few months in, then I started realizing why I did it, learn how to spin in behind, leaving areas where keeper can't come out. And then just the whole reason was to turn the teams over. Because, when you have a lot of constant pressure on you guys, when you spin the ball in behind, you make the other team face their goal. So with that reason, they're facing the other side now. They're not attacking, now they're defending. So that allows your team to push up now, high up the pitch. So before, I never really thought of it like that. So I felt like it was more get out wide, run off players, 1-2s, that's how you get people. But this is another way. And another thing around playing to a striker and then being around him to win the second balls, anything like that. So that was the different role I had at Arsenal to Burnley was more like at Arsenal, they wanted me to start the attack. So centre back who get the ball, I had to come deep and get the ball and then break lines into the midfielders and to the front lines. Whereas Burnley wasn't much of that. It was more the ball goes to the striker or go to the winger. I'm expected to be there for the second ball. So when the second phase comes, I'll get the ball and put it back into the game. So,
recycling it, as they call it.
Exactly. So that's really important. I mean, that's the kind of same thing at Arsenal where when we were attacking, I was there just to stop the counter and then give it back. So keep the pressure constant. But obviously, Burnley was a bit more different where I'll go through a long period of pace without touching the ball. Because obviously the ball's moved a lot, balls in the air, sometimes might get scrappy. So that's kind of the main difference. And also it's a lot harder to adapt. And I think still it's hard, but I feel like it's a learning curve you can take into your career because you never know, you might play for another team, another manager where the styles are similar, but they still want to play football. So you have to be able to adjust to both sides, be able to play the way they want you to play and change when he wants you to change. So, adapting to different situations.
So what about the defensive element in comparison to both clubs? Because the one thing that grates me the most when I see a goal conceded because of ball watching, that's what pisses me off. When I see players not tracking runners, when I see players being dragged out of position when they don't need to. So what about the emphasis on defensive play? What was it like for you?
Burnley, the whole emphasis on everything was about working hard, working for your teammates, running hard on the ground, everything. That's the whole emphasis. People used to joke around the club, be a running club. we're not a football club, we're athletic running club. That's what we used to joke around with. Because the amount of running we did in training, the amount of running we expected to do in games. And then, so I learned a lot in the defensive side, which I felt like I kind of good at already. That was one of my better attributes when I was at Arsenal. But I learned even more now at Burnley. Because obviously, like, crossing position where what stuff I learned, which I never even really thought about in a game, where, like, position yourself where, depending where the ball's been crossed, where you can, like, where the chances of where the ball's going to land. So as a midfielder, you might, so if the ball's maybe a bit wider than, obviously, let's say the corner flag is on this side, maybe a bit wider. If you cross it there, when they clear it, what areas the chance of the ball's going to land? Because obviously they have a chart where the percentages of crosses from different areas where the ball's going to land. So now
kind of like a heat map.
Yeah, similar to that, yeah. So in your head now, you see this, so the player's crossing the ball from really deep and it comes in, the defender headers it. Where do you expect the ball to land? Where the light? So you just position yourself around the areas where you can almost cover 2-3 positions at the same time. So you're just ready for that second part. And also when the ball's in the box, you just don't let the cutbacks. That's one of the things managers hate. If you do not lose your man. Also, that's a big emphasis at Burnley. I think it's emphasis on every club when you're tracking your runners and everything. But Burnley was drilled into, you do not let anyone run past you. Whatever happens, you stick with him and you get there before him. Everything was on him 100 miles per hour. You have to play in 100 miles per hour, all that kind of thing. So
check him on the halfway line.
everything you have to do. You have to be smart about everything like that. Be smart in the game, everything like that. So, like, it's a different style of play. It's something you have to learn at some point. I'm just happy I kind of did it now. And I also have the two style of plays early in my life, early in my career now. And if needs be, I can adjust to different, style of play now.
You just answered my next question, to be honest, bruv, because I was going to say, like, you've kind of had the best of both worlds. You've got one club that's renowned for attacking beautiful football, and then you've got another one that's just, rugby. No disrespect, but it's craft. It's craft. But that's the Sean Dyche way. It's the way that, and do you know what? It's worked for them over the years, isn't it? So they've been relative. I
think there's ways of the way they play, and if you mix it with, like, maybe Arsenal, the way they play, I like to look, you can't even say that as Man City. They put a lot of graft in. Even like Barcelona, when they're on the air, when they lose the ball, they had the 5-second rule. We had that at Arsenal. You lose the ball, 5 seconds, 100 miles per hour. You try and win the ball back in that 5 seconds. Everybody, whoever's near the ball, you'll go 100 miles per hour. If you can't win it, then you just drop back into the
press.
Obviously, I think so. Obviously, the graft and the technical ability, it comes hand in hand wherever you play. I think it all has to be there. But obviously, some teams might emphasize this style a bit more than the other style. So I mean, like, it's like, it's as a footballer, having to work hard is just a given already before you have any talent. So that's a given. But obviously, Burnley, they take that to the extreme, and obviously, like, so and then having to learn it now is perfect for me. So now I'm 19 years old. I've been able to learn how to play, like, how if I go to a team where they want me to get on the ball, be brave, keep the ball simple, I can do that. Break lines, switch the ball, all that kind of, I can do that. If a team wants me to get the ball, spin it in behind, play into the striker, play off thingy, or be a player who's going to be an anchor man where just literally sit there and just win everything that's loose, I can do that as well now. So, it just opens up your world, your knowledge, your footballing understanding a lot more than, like, just playing for one team, So
absolutely, man. And the thing is, 19 years old, 8 years at Arsenal, 2 at Burnley. You've had trials at huge clubs.
So I didn't even explain that. And everything. So what happened when I got under 16s? Obviously, like, I wanted to leave. Also at the same time, they didn't offer me a new contract on the 16 level. So obviously, what they say, I got released pretty much. So, but during that time, even before I got released, obviously I wanted to, like, I told them about I want to go abroad. And also at that time, there wasn't many really players going abroad, and wasn't really heard of. I think that time was like almost like a process when Sancho was doing that. So so I asked to go abroad, because the reason why I asked to go abroad was, in Arsenal in pre-season, we used to go on pre-season tours. So in the summer, we used to go to, like, Italy, Spain, Portugal, even sometimes went to Russia. We went to Russia on the pre-season tournament, Holland all the time, tournaments like that, where we play tournaments against literally the best teams. We went to Holland, play against Barcelona, PSG. Literally, it's like a Champions League. It's like a mini Champions League. It's crazy. Over maybe the course of a week or just a weekend, you get put in a group, you play, and then knock out and stuff like that. And I always felt I tend to do well in them tournaments. where when we went to Italy, I won like, player of the tournament and that kind of thing. I played centre back in games. I won defender of the tournament. I just felt like I kind of really enjoyed that kind of environment, and I tend to strive a bit more in those ones. And then, so when it came to under 16, I thought I want to try that because I thought I did well there. I enjoyed it. So I want to, explore that option. Then during that period, AC Milan was one of the teams I was interested because I think I played against them maybe a few years back. And when my agent contacted them, they already had a bit of knowledge about me. So obviously they wanted me to come in, and Arsenal gave me permission. I can go see my contract ended the end of the season. But Arsenal gave me permission to go and trial with them and train with them during the season. With the agreement, like, if it would offer me a contract after stay during the season, then move on. So I went to AC Milan. So the three teams came back. So AC Milan, Sampdoria, and Sporting Lisbon. There were three teams that showed a lot of interest. So I started with AC Milan. I went to AC Milan. I spent just around 2 weeks over there. I went over there. I flew in like on a Friday. I got in there Friday morning. I did my medical in that morning. I had a few complications with my medical, which obviously that's my first time ever doing a medical, so I didn't even know what line or all these tests and everything like that. So I went over there, did that, and then I was in a hotel. In Europe, it's a bit different setup to England. Where in England, all the full-time footballers, you get put into host families, digs.
Yeah.
So you stay with a family, or you stay with like maybe a house with a lot of players. Over there, they have like a one building, like a club building, where all the academy players stay in that building, almost like a hotel.
Okay.
Like a hotel. So in a hotel, we are staying with a few other players there. Downstairs
like
would be
dorms,
like
isn't it? That's what they call them in America.
Similar. Yeah. But the AC Milan was literally a hotel. It was beautiful. Like, it was beautiful. He had like
that's where the fashion came from. See, it's all starting to make sense now.
Yeah. And then it was beautiful, AC Milan. And then literally you open your window, you stare right at San Siro, which was crazy. Like, and that's one of my first time, like when I was proper starstruck. I went over there, how big the San Siro was. I went there. Obviously, I've been to Emirates so many times during my time at Arsenal. Been to many stadiums, but like the magnitude, how big it was. Like, not even just like, not the pitch, like just how big the outside was compared to like everything else. It's just so high. It looked like a spaceship. That's what came to my head. Like, it's just the shape of it was crazy. And they're like, and you open your window, you're seeing that in front of you. That just kind of almost motivates you. That's where you want to be. And they're like, when there's game day, you can just see the fans coming in. You can hear the atmosphere from outside. And sometimes like you sit inside, there'll be like another game. Maybe Inter might be playing. Because I was at AC Milan. Inter might play, so we definitely don't go to those games. And so I'll be sitting inside, be watching it on TV. We don't even need to put the sound on. You can hear everything from literally with the window open.
Man. Amazing.
Yeah,
You mentioned the medical, and I know Milan are very, very good with making players last longer than they perhaps should. Seeing players playing until they're 40 at AC Milan. Do you know what I mean? So what was that? What was the medical like, and what was the fitness regime like at the club in the time that you were there? Do you remember?
The medical wasn't too crazy. Just like, general check on your health, like cardiac test, everything, like previous injuries, they test them areas if like, like how's it looking, if you have anything, just to make sure you're fine. Because they want to sign a player or bring a player where he's got like a heart problem, and then you go and then you get like, something happens. Even if you do, they want to be aware of it so they can take the right actions for it, And or if you don't want to sign a player who's got like maybe an injury, who's hiding, or injury that he doesn't know about, and he goes out there and gets injured on there, like, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I normally do. But then when I did fail my medical was at Sampdoria, because I did my cardiac test, and then obviously I had an irregular heartbeat, which was like, it came up as well with the AC Milan one, which was like they experienced already, so they didn't really take a massive deal over it. They said like, Clarence Seedorf, he's one of the players there.
Yes.
He had the same situation when he came in. He had like irregular heartbeat, so sometimes heart doesn't beat into the rhythm. He might be like a double beat and stuff like that. So that was for them, that was like not normal, not what they used to. And they were saying about like, it's quite common in like, West African athletes and stuff like that. So, but like never really said reason for it. But it's not really a problem. But for AC Milan, it wasn't a problem because that Seedorf who had the similar thing and he played for them and nothing happened. But then when I was Sampdoria, it was the first time for them encountering a player with that kind of situation. So that kind of went there, like I was meant to be there for 2 weeks, and I spent the whole first week literally like, the whole first week like rebooking the medical, because they were worried. I went to do it where the club does it, and then it came up like we flagged up. So I have to go to a private hospital then have to go to like specialist just to make sure everything was okay. So that took up the whole week pretty much. So I wasn't able to train until I sorted that problem out. It didn't become a problem, but I just wanted to protect themselves, wanted to know I'm okay. I wanted to know it's not nothing major. So with the AC Milan, I went there. And I went there like on a Friday. I did my medical. I stayed in the hotel where the players were. And the following morning, I got called saying they want me to play in the game on that Saturday. This is before I even met any of my teammates, anything. So I want me playing the game in the morning against Juventus.
Okay.
Literally Juventus. So in the morning, the bus came, picked up the players who live in the house, and sometimes picked up other players who's coming across over that areas. So we went to the game now. We went there to Juventus training gardens, like
Primavera.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful, man. It's amazing. And then I went over there. The manager, they had an assistant manager who didn't speak too much English, but he played for I think he said he played for Watford, so he spent a bit of time in English, so he can speak a bit of broken English. And then he was explaining to me
Remember his name?
Nah, I don't remember his name.
That's a good
So he was explaining to me manager said he wants you to sit, watch the game. So watch the game. Second half, you come and play. So he translated to me sit there on the bench, stand on the bench, watch how we play, and then when you see how we play, come on and just try and play like that. So that's what you're trying to say effectively. So I watched the first half. Then after they put me on the second half, they played in that almost like a diamond in the midfield. So I was playing the wide of the diamond. And then, because obviously Arsenal, what I'm used to, when we press, we set the press up. So we choose one side back we press, or one fullback. We normally say the person let's say a right back. Normally at that age group, you say the left side centre back is always right footed. It's quite rare. Sometimes you have a left-sided centre back who's left-footed at that age. So sometimes we like to say victimize that person. So you let him have the ball. You let him have the ball. So obviously, you force him on his weaker side. So sometimes you might force him to make mistakes. So I was used to that at Arsenal. So when I came onto the pitch, they passed the ball to the fullback, and as soon as they passed the ball, I just pressed him with intensity straight away. Pressed him. I won the ball back, played it forward. We almost scored from it. And obviously, all the other players looking around, clapping, saying good. I felt I got a little buzz from it because they say I've done something good. And then same again, they got the ball, they're playing out, because Italian football is a lot more patient, a lot more. I wouldn't say slow, but it's still slow the build up. But in the final third is when it gets 100 miles per hour and precise in the detail of passing. So they passed the play again. I press him, won the ball back, I played it through, and we scored, got an assist. And then funny enough, the person who assisted was Danny Maldini. So he was the same age group, Paolo Maldini's son.
Yeah.
So my first assist for AC Milan was to Danny Maldini, who's obviously now in the first team at AC Milan. So and there's the same thing happened again. We play now, and then we won the ball back. I got the ball, dribble forward, we did a 1-2, crossed the ball, and we scored from it. Got 2 assists in that game, and then the players were buzzing for me. We ended up winning the game 3-2. And it was a crazy game. It was really, I loved it. I loved everything about it. The build up, the whole everything. And then
what happened?
What happened there? They offered a contract, AC Milan, and then so obviously the agreement was if I was Arsenal gave me permission to go and train with them, and then if anything comes out of it, I'll come back and stay through end of the season, and then I'll make the transition at the end of my contract. But then during the speaking page, they offered a contract, and they're speaking now between Arsenal about the agreement on everything on the contract. And then during that process, I was training to keep fit, get ready to go. My agent told me listen, AC Milan offered a contract, just be fit, be ready to go when the contract runs out. So now it's between the two clubs to negotiate whatever they need to negotiate. So you keep training, keep sharp. So I was just training, keeping sharp in just before pre-season around June, July time. And then just literally from a challenge, I just did my ACL, literally a little knock.
No.
And then obviously me and my agent, and we just at first we didn't know because I never experienced an ACL, but in your head, when you do it, you never experienced it, but through the pain, how it feels, you just know it's an ACL. And then in my head, and then when I spoke to my agent, we were just saying we don't know what it is, we haven't had the scan, so keep it quiet. It might be a little knock, we will see. But obviously when I had the test with Arsenal, having to check who it was, and they went and told us behind our back, they told AC Milan when they negotiated and said Ishmael Diallo done his ACL, potentially like, it could be, you know what I'm saying, it could be done. It could be like, like the season over before even it started. So, I know during that time, so I went to AC Milan, I went to Sampdoria, I went to Sporting Lisbon, all them teams, and they obviously put AC Milan with the team that offered the better contract. And obviously that happened. So the experience at Sampdoria, when I went there, it was complications where obviously I took the whole week to do my medical. I had all that to keep changing stuff like that. And eventually after the week, it all came out fine. Then I was meant to be only there for 2 weeks because this was like a process when I was doing my GCSEs. So I was only meant to be there for 2 weeks. So even the school like literally just gave me time out just to go because they're aware of a football situation. So I was just doing I missed some of the mocks. So I was catching up in the plane, catching up in the taxi to get there, catching up in my room, everything I was doing all my exam, like, mock, everything, doing my revision wherever I could. And then when I got there, I was training during the day with the team. Sometimes I train in the evening because they have like the Primavera team. The Primavera is like the 23, but obviously their league is a bit more different, where it's like more competitive than our league. In not like in quality, but in more like how the league is set up. Where our Premier League 2 is more like a lot of friendlies at the end of the season. If it's Premier League 2, like you win this, but over there it's like relegation and promotion, which obviously Cat 2 is like that, but it's not as, it's not as competitive as they are. And then obviously because if you win, you go. If you relegate, they take it really personally over there. So I'm playing for the Primavera team, doing really well. And they're like, yeah, Sampdoria is a beautiful place, by the way. If you've never been there, you have got to visit.
Yeah, I've heard.
Cheers, the training on like in the mountains. So they have their pitch on the corner of the mountain. So one stand faces the mountains. So if you play center back and you have to clear the ball, it's gone. It's gone. It's gonna go fly into someone's house. Like literally, there's a massive drop off. You can see the whole the landscape, the mountains, and everything. So it was like a really really nice scenery there. And then I went there, played a couple friendly games for them, did alright, did well, and then went to the next one, Sport Lisbon. When Sport Lisbon went to their B team over there, trained with them, was really, really good. Like the crazy thing about Sport Lisbon, they literally the academy, like they got players from everywhere. That's the first time I seen that everywhere. When I went there, they had a player from Australia because we had the language barrier when I first went, because like staff couldn't speak English. So another player from Australia who was there, so obviously he spoke English and he was signed, so just waiting for his international clearance. And then I was in the room with a couple of the players who. There's one Colombian player, there's one Brazilian player, and there's one Angolan player. So like the mix was crazy. So like there's so many different kind of type of people, and we always had like an American player there as well. So like the mix was crazy. And then they call themselves like the world. That's what it's called. They have literally anything. They have everything on like every corner of the planet. They got player in that academy.
Yeah, bro. If you look at the players that have come through their system over the years, man. I mean, you just go look at Ronaldo, for crying out loud. That's one out of many. So that's a huge club from especially from an academy perspective. So you must have loved it there, man. Yeah, I loved it. But one of the things that kind of not put me off, but one of the kind of consideration I was thinking about before if I was to go there, because their team are really, really big. Like numbers wise, like the B team, they'll have over like 30, 40 players in the team. So like you come to warm up. 30, 40? I'm telling you, bro, it's crazy. I've never seen it in my life. Arsenal, our team wasn't big. We had maybe like maybe 18 players. 18 players, and obviously we have younger players in the squad who are doing well for age group and comes up, stuff like that. But the Sport Lisbon had maybe like 30, 40 players. We'll be training, they had like a starting 11 who know they're a starting 11. Because the competition is there in front of you at early age. So if you're not people know if they're starting 11. The players know they're the sub players. The players know they can't get, they're the players that struggling to get in the squad. So like the numbers are there. So you see they do everything together, the warm up, the technical stuff, and then they spend like half an hour doing rondo. Like I was loving it, literally half an hour, 40 minutes doing rondo, technical stuff, keeping the ball, and everything was literally like where we're doing like a passing drill, which is that's when it kind of really struck me. Like we're doing like a passing drill, where Arsenal, it's all about speed of pass. So you got to punch a pass in, sprint, same as Burnley, punch it in, 100 miles per hour sprint. Obviously the detail and everything like that, make sure it gets there, right side of the foot, like, back forward, that kind of stuff. But the Sport Lisbon was more laid back. So I got the ball here, I'm punching the ball in, sprinting, and the players are saying, calma. So I'm thinking, the man just came to me, puts his arm around me, he goes, Diallo,
calm, okay, calm. So I'm thinking, what? So obviously, like they're more like, you focus on your pass, like take your time and make the right decision, stuff like that. So make sure it's good pass, wait pass, so it doesn't bubble, everything like that, and just play smooth, everything like that. Which obviously like a massive difference to like other stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, I kind of got to that. They allowed me to like focus a bit more on my passes, take my time on everything like that, all that kind of thing. So I like that's another different thing in the Portuguese style of play. So obviously that. Then after all that, obviously like I said, the AC Milan came with the offer, and then I did my ACL. Obviously, fast forward that, then I left at the end of the season. When I did my ACL, I did it like 2 months, 3 months at the end of my Burnley Arsenal contract. So obviously then I wasn't covered. Arsenal said obviously that I'm not signing a new contract, so they can't help me. So obviously that was like kind of a disappointment. So I had to do my whole rehab on my own. I did my ACL then. First I went with the NHS to see if what they could do. Obviously that with the NHS waiting list is quite long. So it was like almost like 2-3 months that they can't get anything back, all that kind of stuff. Then what was it? Yeah, then my family, we decided if you can go private, because obviously like this is taking so long. Like obviously football, like the longer we wait, the longer the recovery is gonna take.
Yeah.
So we ended up going private, sorting that out. And then luckily for me, I had my good friend, his name is Fiznik. Obviously you see that on my social media account. I'll do all my training with him. He's top tier, world class, a Muslim brother as well. And he literally he did everything for me, helped me get back, helped me with I think I'm one of his first ACL cases. So obviously he's also learning as well. But the fact he helped me come back in quicker than I could have been. So it's like normally like at the club it's quicker. When you play for a professional club, you rehab quicker because you're there every single day and they're focusing on you. You got a whole program, everything like that. And then he kind of tried to replicate something like that. And then we always almost push the boundaries a bit and see what worked, what didn't. And with him, wasn't for him, obviously, was been a lot more harder to get back from that injury. And then when I came back, he made sure I was fully back rather than just letting me come back and going and doing it again. He made me do tests before my injury, see what they were, and he expected me to beat those tests when I come back. So it wasn't like just getting them. I have to smash them before he lets me back on the pitch again. So it was like, spent almost like the whole year with him. Used to travel up from Brighton 3 times a week to go and see him, do some training. And then when I don't see him, I'll be at home getting like text messages, wait, this is what I need to be doing. I seen it like this, doing this kind of exercises, all that kind of thing. And then, so eventually came the end of the ACL, feeling like, confident again. Luckily for me, which a lot of players get from the ACL injury, a lot of players normally have that fear in their head. Because when you have an ACL injury, you're always worried about it happening again. So for me, it was weird. I didn't have that. My first game back, I was playing for a local team here, just to get some minutes, just get this run of things again. And then so I went into a game literally I came on at halftime. Literally the first one I did was go on 50-50 ball, go smash into a player. Literally and then my brother was looking at me like, what are you doing? What are you doing? He just came back. So I was thinking I'm just testing out. I'm just seeing if he's doing it. So
I'm back at Burnley.
Yeah, literally, I'm back. Yeah, I'm good. See, he's back.
So, Burnley, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Before Burnley, then obviously after that, so I ended up going to Sporting Lisbon twice. So the first time I was at Arsenal before the ACL, and then after when I came back from the injury, around that time, Sporting Lisbon heard that I came back from the injury, so they were still interested. So I went over there in January in 2020, before obviously when the COVID started hitting, before it hit. So I went there, was training with the AB team again. Similar thing, the team hasn't changed too much. Some of the players left, but obviously similar faces were still there. So I got a relationship with a lot of their players. Same with the AC Milan guys, Sampdoria. I still have really good relationship with them because they were really, really good guys. And they want you to do well. And they're the different thing over there, whereas the team bonding is a lot more close over there because the boys are living together. They're always together. The team's always together. They're almost isolated in just the team, and they're you're always together every single day. If you're going to be going out, you go out together as a meal, as a team like that. So the team bonding is a lot more tight, I would say, than compared to here, where here obviously you be in smaller groups like that. So you have a smaller, tighter bonds where there's the whole team's together. So I went to Sporting Lisbon in January 2020. I was training with them. Then obviously I was doing really well, playing really well there. Then obviously COVID hit, and then they said all the foreign players have to go back to their countries until they then figure out what's going to happen with everything. So obviously me and all a lot of the Australian guys, the guy from Colombia, all the other players have to go back. Then I came back and then I was training. I did me and my brother started a schedule we were doing because we didn't know how COVID, when's the football's gonna come back again. So we had a crazy schedule, a bit similar to no, not similar, but I pretty much, we took inspiration from Kobe, the Mamba mentality, where we do a 6 to 8 hour training a day because there's nothing else you should be doing. So, and then to make us more disciplined, we said we have to leave the house by 5. We wake up at 5, by 6 we leave the house. So that's one of the things to make us more disciplined. Because with COVID, you could sleep into whenever, and then you can just chill.
Yeah.
So we just wanted a bit more discipline. So when football comes back, we can just go straight into a routine. So we'd be waking up at 5, 6 o'clock. We'd be out, we'd be going training, and then we'd be we almost replicate almost a full day of training. But also we took it to extreme with 6 hours. So we'd be out here working, everything, training hard, everything like that. And we just kind of repeat every single day, probably 6 times a week, have a couple of days off, all that kind of stuff. So that's what we kind of did. And then we did that through the phase of all the way down to maybe a 5 month period, 4 month period. So obviously with that, you start, you got a rhythm going on, you feel fit, and then looking after your diet, you feel sharp, everything like that. So then when everything started coming back again, Burnley was interested. Obviously they heard they've been looking at me since I left Arsenal, but because I wasn't signed to anybody, I wasn't in anyone's book, so they couldn't find me in the football system. So obviously they said they wanted me to come in, everything like that. But during this time, I had a couple of teams in Italy interested. So at that time I didn't want to go abroad. I didn't want to stay in England. I still wanted to pursue my opportunity abroad all this time. Then but obviously remember Italy was hit the worst at the time, wasn't it? So that was kind of, my family was saying you can't even go there at the moment. In my head I was saying, listen, I'm not going to Burnley, I'm not going anywhere, I'm going abroad. I'm not staying in England. But obviously my family was speaking to me saying, listen, go and see Burnley, go and see these teams, they're interested. If you don't like it, you can come back. And then hopefully by then maybe the situation might change. So I thought, you know what, let's go and see what Burnley's like. Because I never played them before. Our youth level, I didn't know too much about it, stuff like that. So I went over there, and then after a week, I did well. They offered me a contract, and then so I spent that year there. And obviously, Burnley time wasn't the best. Obviously, I wouldn't say it wasn't the best. I met some good people there, really, really, who I'm really close with now. Conor Barrett was my bro. When I say my bro, me and him were in there together, everything. We had the same experiences the whole year. We were living together as well. So we had the same schedule. We had the emotions that was flying around the house was crazy. So we kind of knew what we were going through, and almost we were there for each other. So football sometimes it can be difficult, especially when you're going through a phase where you're not playing and you're not in the squad, you're not getting the chances. Sometimes you need someone there in a kind of similar situation to you can talk to about, or you can sometimes banter the situation about, to make it a lot more easier. And luckily for me, I had Conor Barrett, and Conor Barrett was at Leicester before. So he was at Leicester for his whole career. And then obviously he came, he's similar to me, he came down to Burnley and signed there. So obviously he's got a kind of similar shock to me as playing football like this, like that. All of a sudden it's switched, you know what I'm saying? So but me and him were quite close at Burnley. And then Burnley was kind of difficult, obviously start anyway. I went over there, signed. I was really, really looking forward to that season. Even the manager, all the staff were really excited. We were talking to him about it. A lot of the staff were really worried about my ACL, even when I signed. So they all came to watch the first game. They was telling me they want to watch, they want to see because there's one of the head of academy, he put a lot of work in to get me in the club. And obviously he was saying to me he wants, obviously not putting pressure on me, but he wants me to do really well, because there's other people who was questioning about that move, about being a player, even though I come from Arsenal, but I've been out for 2 years. Am I still the same player? I might there's a lot of questions.
To prove yourself.
All that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's always been like that, even coming back from injury. And I had a lot of question mark about me. People were talking, say, he's finished, a lot gone. Even some of my teammates at Arsenal, because obviously I've been out the game for 2 years. Therefore, that's me done. And they obviously, me and Arsenal were quite honest with each other. So they can banter around it. And then when I came back, obviously they were really happy for me and stuff like that. So and then I played a game against Newcastle, played really well, did really well, and the staff were really happy. The head of academy was saying they're so happy, I did it in front of all those people. And then obviously it was weird, literally from then playing really well in front of everyone, and it didn't make sense. To the start, suddenly next game I'm not in the squad. So after playing really well, doing really well, and they're everybody praising me, next week I'm not in the squad. So I'm just confused now. So I'm just saying like, oh, okay, a new style, new everything. Let me go back to training, work hard, prove myself again, do everything. Went back to the training pitch, worked hard, all the training, did all the everything I could do. Like obviously they always said in Burnley, like, they want whoever run the most will play. That's what they're saying, because they want you to cover distance. So I make sure in training I'm always up there with the highest distance covered, working hardest, everything like that. So that part they can't say I'm not doing. And obviously like on the pitch, football wise, I take care of itself. I also came and worked on the ball spinning in behind, the long ball into the space, all that kind of stuff in it, being around the areas where they want me to. I worked on everything like that, all that kind of thing they're telling me. And then like the following week, I'd be on the squad, I'd be on the bench, I wouldn't come on. Then also, then I was thinking like, what's going on? Like, I feel like in training, I'm doing really well. Come to the games, like, I'm not getting a chance. And then the game I did play, I played really well. So I'll come in to speak to the manager, ask him like, just like I said, at Arsenal, I've been drilled into talking about asking questions, like, it wasn't like asking questions disrespect. Questioning him was more like asking him. I went in and I spoke to him saying, oh, I feel like in training I'm doing really well. I'm working really hard. What do I need to do that I'm not doing to get into the squad? Like, what do I need to do? Or like, what's this player doing that I ain't doing? That, like, hence why he's in the squad and not me, and he's playing. So I asked him those questions, and he was like, oh, he's happy. I came and spoke to him about it. But like, he said, oh, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm doing really well. But like, just like difficult at the moment. We've got a lot of players, a lot of older players, or stuff like that. But then, just keep working hard. You get your opportunity. You got to be patient. So obviously, then I took that in, went training, keep training hard, keep doing the same thing. And then went through a period where I was not in the squad. Again, after speaking to him like that, training hard. And obviously, like, I'll be lying if I say it wasn't affecting me. Obviously, like, at first we try and, like, you try and say, oh, listen, it's football, innit? You have to earn your right to play, earn your spot in the team. And to the point where you feel like you're doing everything. In training, you're working really hard, staying behind, doing extras, working everything. When they say you have to run, being up there, the running stats, everything like that. To the point, like, literally, you tried everything. Speaking to the manager, asking what he needs to do, all that kind of stuff. But you're still not in the squad. And then when you ask him, he said, oh, you're not doing anything wrong. So I'm like, you know what I'm saying? So it's so difficult at that time, isn't it? So sometimes I might not see it, but maybe other people might have saw on the pitch, like, it kind of affected my mood a bit more in training, where I wasn't as, like, like talkative, maybe, wasn't a bit more as the vibe, more energetic in the changing room and stuff like that, where maybe I kept it to myself a bit more, So that's when I had, like, Connor, obviously he was going through the similar situation where he wasn't getting the most involvement he was expecting. And then obviously we had him living together. So we were kind of talking it out, speaking about what we need to do. We stayed in behind together, trying to work on other stuff like that, with that kind of thing. So like in football, that's why it's sometimes good to have someone there in a similar boat to you, stuff like that. And then, it came down to obviously near the end of the season, not end of the season, near midway through the season, December. We had a game where for the player that hasn't been getting minutes. So this was like for the players that hasn't been getting minutes with the under 23s. They organised some friendlies for them to play in. And then, so this game now, I was excited because I haven't played them for a while now. So in training, I've been practicing everything I'm expected to do. Coming in, like spinning the ball in behind, pressing after, make sure I'm really fit, getting energy everywhere, so I can just prove a point. Like, I know the manager be watching, prove a point. So, and they come to the game. We had a few younger players, under 18s, to fill the team up, because we had all these players who hasn't played that much, filled up with the younger under 18 that's playing up. And then all the players who played a lot of minutes will be rested, as I did. And then that game, I come into the bench. I was 100% confident I'm going to start, 100%. Obviously, like, there's no reason, because obviously we didn't have enough players for the team, because, like, our team, most of the players are playing, other players are not playing, wasn't enough to have a start 11. And then, I come to the game day. I see the number 8 there. I go sit next to it, all excited. I said, "Yep, that's my shirt right there. Let me get ready." Yep, it was my boot spray right there. And then the manager comes in, names the team sheet, and then I was like on the bench, and then he did start me, and then he put me like, he started another player who was under 18, and he was struggling to get into his own age group. He started him ahead of me. Obviously, like, I was thinking, and this player at this time, like, he never trained with the 23s. So normally, like, if you players do well with the 18s, they'd be training involved with us. But he's never trained with us ever, like, and he just went straight in and started. So obviously, who
did he know? Who was he related to? Because it's nepotism, man. This happens sometimes in football.
Like that, Sometimes, like,
It happens a lot more than you know, bruv. And you've been involved in it. But listen, you've been a fantastic guest, man. I really appreciate your time. And you know, you've got some incredible stories at 19 years old. And I wish you luck for the future. Hopefully, you know, you can find a club very, very soon. I know the window's closed, but you're available to talk to clubs. You can talk to clubs anywhere in the world. So yeah, man, appreciate your time. And look, before I wrap this up, do you have any social media that you'd like to promote?
My Instagram, I'm quite active on my social media there on Instagram. Obviously there you can see the whole story so far, from obviously all the way through everything like that to what I'm doing right now. So keeping fit and sharp. Got a few teams interested, a lot of teams. So at the moment, just I also like to sometimes promote the journey, because sometimes footballers don't tend to do that too much, where you just see them, they disappear and they reappear with a new team. Sometimes you don't know about the graft. But I like sometimes almost show the process of it, because sometimes it's not always there. You can show sometimes like what you're doing during that period where you haven't got a team, because that period there is similar to anyone else. It's nothing special. You just have to put the work in, put the time in, and be patient, and then wait. Like I'm saying, because the team getting interested, wait for that time. But when that opportunity do come, you have to be ready. So I mean, so like it's nothing different, but I like to show that kind of side of my kind of story so far. So if anyone's interested in that, they can just follow me on Instagram, which is Ismail, which is ISMAIL 46 Diallo, DIALLO. That's our Instagram. So, yeah,
we'll be putting it in the links, and we'll put it all over social media and everything.
Perfect.
So yeah, Ishmael, thank you very much for your time. That is it, ladies and gentlemen.
Loved it.
Thank you, man. Right, that's it for another episode. We'll be back very, very soon. The league resumes after the international break, which seems like an eternity. Hopefully, Omonoia will be back to winning ways, and the return of Matt Derbyshire to Omonoia, which is going to be a little bit uncomfortable for me because he's a good mate. But that's it. Till the next time. Bye,